All righty, welcome everybody. Welcome to our launch and debut of the Spin Zone brought to you by Brownsville Tech Live. And in the house today, we've got a returning co host. He is filling in the chair this week. He is the RGV's Space Cowboy. And if you recall, he co hosted with me the SpaceX launch back a few months ago. Ramiro, welcome back. Welcome back to the show, and thank you for uh, joining me today on this different kind of launch.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate the invite and Space Cowboy and Dallas Cowboy. Tiene doble sentido, right?
Yes, it
Good to be
does.
back.
It's good to have you back, sir. Definitely. Well, as most of you know, we have been advertising this show for quite some time, and I know that I've had conversations, with Ramiro and a few others with what kind of show we wanted to have, and obviously we decided to settle on the Spin Zone, which covers America's team and, of course, God's team. Let's not forget that he watches, or at least he used to watch the football games from the open hole in the old stadium, but now he does it virtually. So, so it's great that he's still watching his favorite team as well.
All right.
So, Ramiro,
I don't remember. We do have a retractable dome, right? Isn't AT&T Stadium have?
I
I
don't
think it
know.
is retractable.
Is it still, it may be retractable. Yeah, yeah. So he's still
Yeah,
watching.
I think it is. I think it's one of the few, like the large scale type stadiums that is fully retractable.
Yeah.
Compared to some others that have a completely closed dome.
Oh, yeah.
Which one was it? Last year was it the Minnesota Viking stadium because it's not retractable? The with the heavy winter snow, it caved in.
It caved in. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah. Well, definitely, like I said, we're glad to have you back. I know that you and I had been talking this week, primarily, I believe the training camp is starting. Could you give us a little bit of input as to when it's starting and where is training camp and what are some of the things that actually happen at training camp, for those that may not know exactly what the big deal is about training camp?
right, it's going to be as usual in Oxnard, California,
Yeah.
and it's going to start on Wednesday, which is what the 26th is it?
Yeah.
I believe it's the 26th, but it's this Wednesday coming out in Oxnard, California. And right now there's over 53 uh, candidates right now.
Right.
So we have some of the starters from last year. We did lose some players like Ezekiel Elliott. Um, we lost Noah Brown. To to the I think he went to the Buffalo Bills.
Uh-huh.
So he was one of our wide receivers, kind of like a slot receiver type. So but what's going to happen as we get into the preseason is that it's we got to get down to 53 on the actual roster,
Right.
and you'll have after the 53, then I think you can keep a few guys on the practice squad
Right.
and some on reserve, but it's going to be a tough choice to cut down to 53 men.
Yeah.
So it's going
Well,
to be an exciting time to see throughout this practice season, see
now
what's going on.
how long is training camp held?
So training camp is going to be from here until the first week of the preseason,
Okay.
which will be what is it in the first week of August.
Yeah. Yeah, I had planned to
So
show an actual schedule, but I seem to have lost it. But
mhm.
maybe we'll cover it on the next one what the entire football schedule is. But
Right.
let's go ahead and
The
yeah,
first game, week one, it'll start on Sunday, September 10th against
right.
the Giants.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and we'll start at at the Giants, so it'll be an away game to start off the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
A
Well,
Sunday night. It's going to be a primetime Sunday night game, 8:20 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah,
So that'll be a really good start to the season against the Giants.
yeah. Well, let's go ahead and flip to our other screen here for a second. And we'll go ahead and get started with the biggest. Well, it's not the biggest change, but it is a change somewhat
Uh-huh.
from the year before last. But let's go ahead and let me flip over, and we've got a little bit of background music for some of those hip hop fans as well. So all right. So one of the big announcements I think that we all heard was that Mike McCarthy is now going to be calling the plays. I guess they fired the previous offensive coordinator. What's your thought on that? I mean, isn't it kind of like McCarthy putting his neck out on the line for him wanting to call out the plays versus leaving that to a coordinator themselves. By the way, they did hire some guy who's a coordinator, but he's not going to be doing any coordinating somewhat. So what's your take on that?
It'll be interesting. I don't the what's his name? The previous coordinator. We just
I caught the guy's name, but this guy, Shun, I can't read it. I think
Brian
it's
Brian Shoot
Brian
Schottenhelmer. I guess you'd
Schottenheimer.
pronounce that.
Yeah, Schottenheimer. Yeah, he's not going to be actually calling out any plays. It looks like McCarthy's going to take the lead in doing so. Now they
Right.
claim that McCarthy likes it that way better because he used to do that at Green Bay. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah. What was his name? I he has a catchy name. The our previous
Let me
uh,
see. Let me
uh
see if I can.
play caller. Was it Kellen Moore?
I think so. Let me. I had his name earlier. Let me see. I guess
I
I
and
can do a
it's
search
weird
called.
that I forget it because I've all I think it is Kellen Moore.
Let me see. I'm googling Fire Dallas OC. Yeah, it was Kellen Moore. You're right.
Yeah, yeah, Kellen Moore. And you know, he's pretty good. He's a really smart guy.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. I just don't know what it was about this last season. It kind of seemed like he was too predictable.
yeah,
Uh, the play calling against us. I mean, it seems like they were honest from play to play. They knew exactly what he was gonna throw out in the next, and eh, somewhere it seemed like there was just too many um, distractions going on, and the plays would break down real easily. So,
well, he was pretty
um,
young. I mean, he was only like 33, and
yeah,
I guess his time came up after that loss to San Francisco in the divisional round.
right, and
Yeah,
yeah, there was a lot of hiccups too. Like I said, because they try to do a lot of fake plays and too much going on, and defenses would just see straight through them.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. So
so no more.
this guy Brian Schottenheimer or Schottenhammer replaced him. But
Hmm.
you know, unlike this guy, Moore, is it Moore?
Yeah, Kellen Moore.
Yeah, Kellen Moore. It looks like McCarthy's going to be calling out the plays, so obviously he's going to get blamed uh, pretty badly if certain things don't work, if certain plays
Yeah,
don't.
I guess it's just like someone to get all the blame, right? In case things go wrong,
Yeah,
and if things go well, if McCarty gets all the credit, right?
that's right. Yeah, you either get all the
So
credit or you get all the blame. I guess I was a little surprised that they hired this other guy there, Chin Young. And I think I mentioned to you yesterday, I he has no pro football experience. He apparently was a high school football coach before all of this. Now, keep in mind that the high school football coach was one of those rich school districts. It wasn't like your poor school district either. I mean, so he probably had a big budget and all kinds of
right,
stuff.
yeah, it was a school, a high school out of Houston,
Yeah,
and he took that high school into their division and stayed into what they call their playoffs.
yeah,
So he must be doing something really good. He's got something going.
yeah,
And to tell you the truth, I kind of like that about the Cowboys, that there's a lot of mystery,
yeah,
of what the Cowboys are going to look like this year, and the players and the coaching. Because as we know, it's not all about the players; it's also about the coaching, right? About the
right,
staff.
right.
It you gotta it all gotta come together to make it a team effort to make it into the playoffs and potentially win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
That's the biggest talk right now. It's too early to talk about the Super Bowl, but that's the one thing that everyone goes into the season thinking about. We got to win the Super Bowl, right?
right, right. Well,
So,
Jerry's definitely pouring out the money this year. There's no doubt about that. Now, of course, he's not going to pour out what was it? I think
90
what
million for
90
Zeke
million
Elliott.
is Zeke Elliott. I mean the waste of money there. I think some of the other
Yeah.
running backs in the NFL are really pissed off because I think all I I think all of them, including Pollard, only got like $10 million contracts. So everybody else is pissed off that, that that they're not paying that kind of money for the running backs. But oh well,
Yeah,
Let's
I thought, it was a big mistake from the beginning,
yeah.
to ever want to pay him that much money, but wow,
Well,
it's
definitely for the quarterback position, there's no doubt that Mr. Dak Prescott is going to be obviously the starting quarterback. Any thoughts on him this year? What's your
I think that it's going to be a really good year.
yeah,
I expect it to be exciting. He has been getting better, you know, even not considering the injury, the year before.
right?
Um, Even before the injury, he seemed to be getting better in increments, throughout the season since he
Yeah,
started. And he's transitioning from the short middle range type of quarterback to more of the mid to long range quarterback. And you've seen that this past year with him throwing down range to CD Lamb and the other receiver, what is his name? Opposite of CD Lamb. We drafted him last year
from
from the
Houston.
Colts.
Oh, well, what about the guy from Houston? Didn't there wasn't there a draft from Houston for wide receiver?
Yes, but we drafted, what was his name? I'm really bad at remembering names.
Well,
Uh,
how about if I flip to this screen here? Isn't it Gallup?
there's just no, it's not Michael Gallup. It's the I'm trying to remember what number is he. I think he's not number 13 is 13 is Gallup. Is it number 11?
Wide receiver. Let's see here. We've got Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup.
Um,
And there's another guy called Cavante Turpin, Jalen
mm,
Tolber, and Simi Fakoko. Fahoko. There's a maybe. They're looking at Dennis Houston and Jalen Moreno Cropper.
he's our wide receiver that we traded last year. We got him from the Colts. We got a couple of players from the Colts
Yeah.
last year. Uh,
Well, what's your
but
take on Dak's secondary backup there, Cooper Rush?
Cooper Rush is really good, and I've been wanting to see Cooper Rush play from the moment that we drafted him a couple of years ago. But then we also had White uh, in between Cooper Rush, and we seen White play and Cooper Rush, and they ended up going with Cooper as a backup. But Whitey, as they called him, was also really he was a really good quarterback. He did really well.
Now, isn't there
I
another
just
guy called Greer, Will Greer, by some chance?
that is someone that I don't recall. That must have been someone that they picked up during this off season.
Yeah.
And, here's the list. I'm pulling up the list of wide receivers. See if I could find them. I'm the kind of guy that the name's there, and when I forget something, I'm really stubborn that I have to remember it. If not, it's gonna be killing me all day. So we have Cooks is the new guy
Yeah,
that
he
that
came
we
from
picked up.
Houston. He came from Houston, right? Cooks.
Right,
Yeah.
Brandon, and so that was a really big trade. And I hope we did keep the one. I can't believe I don't remember his name. Why we have Gallup
Yeah, my list shows
and
Pollard. I'm
Houston.
sorry, my list shows C.D. Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, some guy named Cavante Turpin,
Yes,
Jalen
Turpin.
Tolber, and Simi Fahoko. And then there's also Dennis Houston and Jalen Moreno Cropper. There's a couple of other guys that they're predicting that they're not going to make the cut. I don't know if these names sound familiar, but it's Jose Barbon, Jalen Brooks,
Uh-huh.
Dontario Drummond, David Durden, Tyrone Johnson, and John Stevens Jr. But they're thinking that the wide receivers are going to, the hot ones are going to be CeeDee Lamb, of course, Brandon Cooks, and Michael Gallup.
Right. I'm thinking that this other receiver, I don't remember if he came from the Colts or from the Raiders. He might have come from the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah.
Uh, I think he did come from the Raiders. I don't think he made it. And he might have been signed on a 1 year deal. And he was pretty good. He was running opposite of CD Lamb last year. And there was one game towards the end of this last season where he went down the field like it was 25 plus yard catch
Yeah.
plus another 15 to 20 after the catch. It was a big one. I mean, almost like a Hail Mary type pass.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen Prescott throw it out there like that with the precision and the speed. And he has done about two or three more like that with CD Lamb,
Uh huh.
running on the opposite end. So Prescott is looking really, really promising for this season coming up.
Yeah.
I just hate the fact that I can't remember his name.
Well, they
Uh,
say that the slot for the fourth wide receiver is going to be between Turpin, Tolber, and Fahoko. I guess if I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah.
well, Turpin, I think he's more on special teams. He's our what do they call it? Our punt returner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So let's
that's
talk.
what he's on special teams.
So let's talk about the running back. Obviously, yeah. Ezekiel Elliott is out. He was the what they call the $90 million flop.
Yeah,
And obviously they signed up Tony Pollard for $80 million less. As I think we mentioned, most of those guys are getting $10 million contracts, which still is a lot of money, right? But obviously
yeah,
Tony Pollard is coming into this with recovery from a broken fibula. So hopefully the fibula has recovered. He's recovered well from his. I don't even know where is a fibula anyway. I was trying to figure out. I don't remember my anatomy. What's a fibula? What did he break?
it. I believe it was part of his. Is it part of the ankle?
Ah, okay. Like the
So
like the back part of the bone or something.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So Pollard is it's going to be interesting, and then remember we have Deuce Vaughn that he was on from this year's draft. So he came in on the he was our sixth round draft pick, overall 212, running back Deuce Vaughn out of
yeah.
Kansas State. So he's it's going to be interesting to see their possible contenders. You have there Deuce Vaughn and Hunter Lupic.
Yeah. What are your thoughts are on Malik Davis and Rico Dowdy? Is it Dowdy?
Malik
Dowdle. Yeah,
Malik
Malik.
Davis. Um, I think I recall Malik Davis running in there. Uh, I don't remember Rico Dowdle,
Yeah,
uh, because most of the time it was split between Zeke and Pollard,
yeah,
and then it kind of seemed like towards the end of the season it was more Pollard than it was Zeke, right?
yeah,
With Zeke Elliott being limited, he wasn't 100% coming into the season, and it seemed that he got worse towards the end of this last season.
Now
So
you had mentioned yesterday to me that some of these guys were, what was the term you used? Uh, in versus outer runners. Could you kind of elaborate
yeah,
on that?
bigger guys like Zeke Elliott, they're short and stocky.
Yeah,
They're more of the ground and pound, run it straight up the middle type of
right,
guy.
right.
And that's what we seen in Zeke Elliott a couple of years ago, where he was just like a bulldozer. He was taking out two or three guys, and he would still keep running straight up the middle,
Yeah,
and knocking guys over. I
yeah,
mean, I don't know if you've seen some replays where sometimes he was dragging two or three guys, pushing the pile forward,
yeah,
and you stop seeing that. You stop seeing where he was galloping over defenders.
yeah.
So that physical gameplay, it really takes a toll on players. So
Well,
Pollard's not that.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, you keep on going down the middle, you're gonna get banged pretty bad.
Yeah, yeah. The concussion that the beating that you take,
Yeah,
that you can only take so much of that, right? I mean, imagine you're getting hit. A lot of times they hit you low, you know, uh, between the waist and the knee, in
yeah,
the thigh area. When you're getting tackled at on the thighs, that hurts,
yeah,
or like they call it a chop block, where they hit you really low and you kind of do like a backflip or a front flip.
right.
Over time that really it slows you down.
Yeah,
And you got on up in the center area on defense and offense. These guys are 300 plus pounds,
yeah,
so it's like you're pushing up against possibly 2.5 tons of muscle. you know uh that's that's a lot of physical action going on there up front,
yeah. A
a
lot of
lot of
clashing,
clashing.
a lot of
Yeah.
clashing. You know, yeah, those guys are not light. That's for sure.
No.
But yeah. So then of course we've already talked about the wide receiver, no doubt. CeeDee Lamb is obviously going to be starting. And you did mention, we did mention that, you know, this guy Brandon's coming from Houston, and I can't read the other guy's name.
uh so we have
Yeah,
Cavante Turpin, Jalen Tolbert,
yeah,
Simi Perhoco,
right.
and then
And
Jalen
then
Moreno Cooper and Dennis Houston.
yeah, and I've got asterisks on those because there's some suspicion that those guys are not going to make the cut.
Yeah, they might not. I mean, there's a lot of new names, a lot of new faces. Brandon Cooks has been the talk of the offseason. You know, we can't go without talking about our number one fan, and the Cowboys' number one fans are actually our haters. The Yeah, they they got to get, they got to get a spotlight of the show too. Shout out to the haters. Uh, they don't take any time off. Trust me.
Yeah, no,
They
they
know
don't.
more about the Cowboys and about all the players and about all of their stats more than the Cowboy fans themselves. Trust
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
And there's been a lot of talk about Brandon Cooks. I don't know if you've seen a TikTok video not too long ago, that a couple weeks ago. As soon as we traded for Brandon Cooks, and one of these guys came out, and I mean, he was so passionate. He said, I hate you, Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys with such passion. He was an Eagles fan,
Yeah.
and he had the little Eagles thing on, where the Eagles helmet thing with the little wings flapping,
Uh-huh.
and he said, I hate the Cowboys so much. He's like, but I'm excited for Brandon Cooks. I know that Cooks running opposite of CD Lamb. He's like, that's going to be some fire.
Yeah.
But he said, fly, Eagles, fly.
Yeah.
He was. I wish we could play that video, but the
Yeah, I
way
know.
the way Facebook is, you get a copyright strike for
I know.
something simple that's just to laugh about, right?
Yeah, I think how we're gonna handle it moving forward is we'll just do snapshots of the video. I don't think we can get sort of in trouble for that, or at least I hope not.
Yeah, I think I heard, like, if you keep it under, what is it, under 10-second clips, that you know and only play like partial of the audio, you could maybe get away with it.
Yeah, I don't know how some people
But
do it, you know.
most people know who it is. It's the same guy. He puts his little Eagles helmet thing on with the wings flapping, and it's not the first video he does, man. He's really passionate.
All right.
So
Well,
yeah, I mean, we have I mean, obviously we don't have Cooper, not Cooper. Uh, what is his name? So we have CD Lamb. We don't have, and not Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is our backup quarterback. The other Cooper. Uh, so he's gone. He's someone that we picked up from. He's our previous wide receiver from last year
uh-huh.
that we picked up from um, from the Raiders as well.
Yeah.
So we don't have Cooper as a he was. I think he was also, was he number 88 before? I think he was. So we don't have Cooper. So in place of that, our number one wide receiver right now, as we know it, is CD Lamb.
Right.
And opposite of him is going to be Brandon Cooks. And number 13, which is Gallup.
Right.
And we should have, and then we have our tight ends as well.
Right.
So,
Which we're gonna
so that's
flip
our,
to.
mhm.
Which we're gonna flip to there. Obviously the starting tight end is Jake Ferguson, followed by secondary at Peyton Hendershot and this guy Loon Schoonmaker. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, there's a lot of new faces.
Yeah.
A lot of new names. Hendershot's been around. The new guy is a Shoemaker and Sean McKeon.
Yeah.
So we expect that Ferguson steps up to the plate,
Yeah. Now they
and
say that these other two guys, Seth Green and Princeton Fant, are out or they
uh
won't make the cut. So those are the
right,
other.
and then yeah, and the tight end Luke Schoonmaker, he's out of Michigan State. He is our second round draft pick, 58 overall.
Mm-hmm.
So Schoonmaker is the guy that we want to look at going into going into the season. To he's going to be the competition with Ferguson. You know, you don't really want to see it that way. You want to see both of them, work in tandem together.
Right.
So, but it's good to have some fresh new faces, some younger guys there up front because with the Dallas Cowboys, it is a really physical and tough game on offense and on defense.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that much more pressure because we're the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what team we play against because it's the Cowboys. They always want to beat us. So there's never a game that you could say, oh, well, oh, that's an easy game. No, it's not.
Right.
People, everyone on every single person on every team is on that team and they're in the NFL for one reason, and that's because they love to play football.
Right.
And they love to win. No one wants to lose, right?
Right.
So and on top of that, you got the incentive of a salary and possibly a bonus and other perks. You're on live TV, so it is a really competitive sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well.
there's our tight end lineup. Oh, and you were talking about step back at the wide receivers. The other one is our seventh round draft pick, 244th overall. That was Jalen Brooks
Yeah.
out of South Carolina.
Yeah.
So I believe
Now.
he comes in at 6'5". He's a really tall guy, either 6'2" to 6'5".
Yeah.
So it's not only about Brandon Cooks, it's also about Jalen Brooks.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of firepower. Can you pull up a picture of he's not oh, okay, I don't see he's there on your Jalen Brooks. And I wonder who's the Tolbert guy. I know that's
I don't know. I've never heard of him before. Maybe I may have labeled. You know, I was.
well, you have some guys on that are on the practice squad as well.
Yeah.
So and those that are from last year's that made it into the injury reserve.
Yeah.
So wide receiver Jalen Brooks out of South Carolina. He's our seventh round pick.
Yeah.
That is another one to be on the lookout for. To see how it's going to play out. So there's plenty of firepower, plenty of potential.
And of course, we can look at the offensive line. I think the biggest question for the last week or two has been whether Zach Martin is actually going to show up or not. Have there been any word on whether he's going to show up or?
Yeah, I that's typical, for I don't know, whatever you want to call it, PR stunts or maybe they pull a fast one, hold out from training camp for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Most most guys that have more than a year or that they're not still called rookies anymore. A lot of times they just don't participate in training camp.
Right.
And a lot of times the coaches won't expect that of them because they want to keep them fresh going into the season.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want is a starter getting hurt in practice.
Well, speaking of hurt, I think one of those guys, Steele, isn't he coming back from like an ACL injury or something like that?
Yeah, I think I did hear something about that. He got it wasn't even the it was before this. It was during this off season.
Mm-hmm.
That I think he had what was it, an ankle sprain or something?
Yeah, they call it an ACL injury. I don't know what ACL stands for. I'm not a medical person.
Yeah, it's part of the like a knee, a ligament in the knee.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't want those kind of things. So our offensive lineup.
Yeah,
So
there's some others according to this so-called expert today, these are the guys that they said for sure are going to make the cut, but they also had some other guys: Josh Ball, Matt Waletso, an Asim Richards, a Matt Farniak, a Chuma Adoga, and a
Right.
TJ Basses. This guy labeled them as maybes, and then of course
Right.
they're predicting that four other guys, Bostic and Taylor and Hoffman and Lindstrom, were going to be out. That they were not going to make the cut. So I'm not
Right.
familiar with
But
those guys, so I don't know. I don't know.
yeah, well, Sim Richards, he's out of North Carolina. He was our overall fifth our fifth round draft pick, 169th overall,
Uh huh.
offensive tackle, Sim Richards. So he will be in the lineup. Uh, but that's what this whole practice is going to be about. This training camp is to see how everything's going to work out. Who are they going to put in what position, and who are going to be the second and third string backups.
Right.
So and then you also got but you said we weren't going to talk about defense. So we
No,
got
that's next week. But
we got
I know
some.
you're eager to talk about defense.
Oh yeah, there's some really good. That's why I'm picking and choosing from the. I have a list of all the draft picks, but I can't say the ones that are on defense. So
Yeah. Well, definitely we'll talk about them, no doubt next week. But yeah, definitely we'll be talking about the defense this coming weekend.
right, but I can talk about Deuce Vaughn,
Yeah.
because he is part of our offense,
Yeah.
and he is a running back out of Kansas State.
Yeah.
Uh, he's our sixth round, 212th overall draft pick.
Yeah.
So what that means, 212th overall, that was our sixth round pick for the Cowboys, um, because every team is allotted a certain amount of picks. So he is the 212th pick overall. That means that that's not bad at all,
Right.
because 200 he was the 212th pick. So you start off with the number one, and then you work your way down. I don't know how many there's probably up there in the thousands of draft picks. So 200 is not far down the list. That's pretty good.
Right.
And I've watched some highlights of him. He's 5'5", I think 180 pounds. So uh, he's a lot shorter than Pollard. And
He's
we talked about that.
he, he's he's my height.
Yeah, yeah, he is. He's 5'5". He's a really short guy. Um,
Oh, gee, thanks.
I think, I think Zeke Elliott was what? Was he 5'10"?
No,
But he
was
was
he?
more in the
Let me see.
200.
Let me do some stats on him. I'll tell you here real quick.
I believe he's 5'10".
Has his 6 feet.
I was wrong.
6 feet. Yeah, 6 feet and 225 pounds. Yeah,
Yeah,
he was definitely a heavy big boy, no doubt about that.
yeah, and you got to be up there. Probably, I think the ideal height for a running back
Uh huh.
is around 5'10". You
Uh
don't
huh.
want to be taller than that. Why? So that you can fit into those small gaps.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why they went with this 5'5" guy, because
He can
I
squeeze
have
through it.
seen they can kind of, they're really hard to tackle because they're a small target and they're a lot faster, and you can shake off. I mean, I did see that in his highlight that he's snapping ankles left and right. He can
Mm-hmm.
change direction really quickly, and these bigger guys can't react fast enough to get him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But but it only takes one good hit from from a good sized defender to wipe him out. And then, so he's got to be real careful about not taking hits like that.
Right. Right.
So the question is, what what are we going to see this season in the Cowboys? Are we going to see, Ezekiel Elliott, Marion Barber? They called Marion Barber, our previous running back. They call him Marion the Barbarian, where like Zeke Elliott, he was just running straight up the middle. I don't think we're going to see that. I don't see Pollard as that kind of guy to run up the middle, to push the pocket.
Right.
Um, who knows? We might see different plays, and the offense might be able to open up a gap down the middle where Pollard will feel comfortable enough to do it, to push the pocket.
Right.
It remains to be seen. I don't think we're going to see that. I think what we're looking at is more of a Tampa 2 type offense, what they call Tampa 2 setup, where it's like having all receivers just where you line up your wide receivers on each end, your tight ends, and then you line up your running back as a slot receiver.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically you got like two or three guys on each end just running straight down the field. So they don't know, defenses will be kept guessing
Right.
as to who will get the ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the only thing you got to have with that is you got to make sure that we keep Dak Prescott well protected,
Yeah.
to give him the time to get it down the field.
Right. Right.
So it's a mystery right now.
Yeah.
And something that they did different over at Oxnard, I don't know if you heard about it, but they completely they fenced everything off. They put privacy screens around the whole training camp facility,
Mm.
and there's very limited access, and they're not allowing the media as much in for training camp coverage.
Right.
So it's in a way it's good, right? It's gonna
Right.
it's gonna keep everyone guessing to what are the Cowboys up to this season.
Yeah. Yeah. All righty. Well, I just got my pop up Zoom for my next scheduled show here at 3 o'clock. So it was definitely quite an insight today over the offensive line. And next week we'll be covering your favorite topic, which is the defensive line. So we'll definitely hook up next week, and we'll be back for another round of the spin zone. So, Ramiro, thank you for giving us the insight over the starting of training camp. We'll be watching and getting news back from training camp, and we'll be back next weekend,
Right.
and
And don't forget, we also got to cover a famous event that happens here only in the Valley in Texas,
yeah,
and that is throughout the season, every time the Cowboys win a game, we have an event where that they call it La Pitada, and that only happens here on what they call La Famosa Southmost.
District
And
One,
huh? Yes, in
District One.
District 1 in Ogre. This is Ogre County. So you know, everybody gets down here by on the southmost, and there's a couple of houses that are fully decked out in with cowboys
Well,
decoration.
what we'll do is we will plan a live La Pitada show sometime this season.
Yeah, hey, it'll be good. We'll have our opening win of the season against the Giants on
Yeah,
a Sunday night. So
yeah,
I don't know. Sunday night's gonna be that's gonna be probably past midnight.
yeah,
Imagine that. And when it does get busy like that on a Sunday night, man, Southmost gets jam packed. It literally takes an hour to drive, a half mile.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
I've
from how packed it gets. You know,
it gets
people.
packed.
Yeah, there's people drinking, fireworks show, everything.
Everything, guns blazing, you name it. And we'll definitely after that we'll just have to go to your house for a cookout.
That's right. We'll do some smoked chicken.
Yeah. Alrighty, everybody. Well, this was our launching debut of the Spin Zone, and we will see you next week as we look at the defense and the defensive line. Ramiro, have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will see you next week. Have a great Sunday evening.
All right. See you guys later. Go Cowboys.